And let's talk a bit further about the cost of living crisis here. ASDA says it will cut or freeze prices on 100 products, whilst Morrisons say they'll do the same on 500 products as the supermarket price wars begin to try and retain customers. Almost 9 out of 10 British adults have told the Office for National Statistics their living costs are rising. A quarter of respondents said they're struggling to afford their bills. Kate Hardcastle joins us on this, consumer expert, host of the podcast Rock and Roll Business. Hi, Kate.
Hello, good evening.
First of all, on the price wars, I'm interested in this because I went supermarket shopping today. I won't reveal the name of the supermarket, but I will tell you that in their fresh fruit and veg section, they had at least 8 baskets just upturned with nothing in them. So that there was kind of 2 empty sections of an aisle just with no fresh produce. Are they struggling for supplies?
There is still some delays and some blips in the supply chain. It's a lot smoother than it was, say, a couple of months ago. But I think we've got so many things going on at the moment, Phil, that it's very changing times when it comes to that essential purchase of food. We've got consumers who are incredibly aware of their weekly spend. Food is an essential purchase, obviously, but it is one that we can control. We can turn that up or turn that down as prices allow us to. And I think the focus is getting the best buys that we can, but certainly we've had products now for the last 6 months, be that because of crop issues, due to weather, due to supply chain issues, even the impact from the Ukraine situation that have impacted certain food items.
And what about the actual price freezing or price cuts that these two promised? Do you expect others to follow? And how do they manage that? Is that effectively a loss leader for them?
It can be. Certainly items such as milk, for instance, and those basket essentials that we monitor the price of as consumers each week will often be put at a certain price point to attract us in. We associate value when we see it on items that we can return the price of, and therefore we might feel a little bit freer to buy other items if we think that supermarket's doing right by us. We've had price wars in supermarkets for years and years, and the discounters came in and shook everything up. And what they did is a few things. They gave consumers power back. They showed us that we could buy alternate to big branded products. They showed us that we could buy leaner, that we didn't need as much choice, and we could actually effectively reduce down our spend and get in the main same types of quality. And that educated a lot of consumers for the first time in terms of the power of the purse. Now, we've been kind of advising consumers that for years you can switch insurance, you can switch your motor insurance, you can save here, you can switch your energy bills. The fact of the matter is that a lot of those prices are not available to have that leeway in it anymore, and therefore the cost of living crisis impact isn't as something we can control. We've got to get back in the driving seat as consumers. So food is something we turn to. We say, well, we can evolve this. We can be in charge of the weekly shop. And therefore we look to those supermarket brands to do the right thing. And we've had campaigners like Jack Monroe do a great job of pointing out that a lot of those kind of budget price end products had disappeared out of a lot of the supermarkets at a time when we need them the most.
What can we do then as consumers to do that? Because, I mean, we've still got to go shopping, we've still got to buy stuff. How can we make our choices smarter?
Do you know, I'm glad you asked me that, because I think a lot of people think there's nothing else left to do, and there's a huge amount we can do. First and foremost, we waste too much food as consumers each week. We throw too much away. I really monitor it and I still fall foul each week. It frustrates me because you're throwing pound notes in the bin. So buying and planning to buy is really essential. It doesn't seem a lot if it's £20 here, £20 there, but being complete control of your shopping will evolve all of your spend each month. Making sure you're not distracted as well. When we go into supermarkets, those big yellow signs are there. They attract us and stimulate us in a psychological way in our subconscious. And we're attracted to things where we're buying things we don't really need, and maybe we've not checked the price out as much. So you've got to be really aware. I'm not saying the meticulous detail of an Excel spreadsheet, but the more you are on top of how much things cost, the better. The less you waste, you're helping the planet, you're helping your budget. And there's so many cyclical selling opportunities now. You know, a great brand, Too Good to Waste, allows you to go and pick up from cafes and restaurants, for instance, at the end of the day, buying reduced stock that means it stays out of landfill. So I think there's a lot of good we can still do.
So that's called Too Good to Waste?
Yeah, it's a fantastic, I've not associated with them anywhere, and I think it's run as a not-for-profit, but what they've done is work with restaurants and cafes, and instead of throwing the food in the bin, they resell it, which means it's a small income for the cafes, which really need it, particularly the independents, to keep going. But it also means that you might be able to then make a few meals out of that or get some stuff in the freezer to keep you going too. There's lots of that around, Phil. So it's just getting really smart, looking at columns, listening to radio shows like this and trying to stay informed. You are in control, and the more in control you are, the better the budget's going to feel.
So obviously this is your world, this is where you live in this world and you're used to doing this. Have you been able to either get better value for your weekly shop or lower the cost of it, even in these times?
We've had to, Phil. You know, I've got 3 children and they're growing, and we have to be realistic about everything from buying clothes in the cyclical economy. My children very rarely have new clothes. It's something I've bought from a resale site, and I buy it to size and I store it in suitcases and then get it out. And I've done that since they were born, right through to the weekly shop to make sure that I'm buying economically. I'm trying to make one meal a night. That's my big wish, because I know that's where we can make the most savings and we can freeze for the next few nights. So I have to be in control of it. It takes doing. I have to dedicate time to it. And yeah, that means you sound a bit dull sometimes, but the more I'm in control, the more that I feel I know what's coming out of that account. And that makes me feel better at the end of the month.
Very well put, Kate. Very nice to speak to you as well. I think it's important that we ask you these questions, because I think sometimes there's a misnomer that because you're in the media that you don't need to do some of these things, but we all do, don't we?
Absolutely, 100%. You know, you were away for edge away. I was always told, from in a very different financial situation. So being in control of it, even if you're feeling perhaps not as hard done to as others right now, isn't a bad tool to learn. And we know there's a lot of families that are in a situation they shouldn't be in. They do need help, and we need to give all the advice we can.
That is consumer champion Kate Hardcastle. You can check out her podcast where you get yours from. It's called Rock and Roll Business. Thanks, Kate.